Hi everyone, welcome back to Business English Writing, and this is our second lesson on how to write professionally. And in this lesson, we're going to do a very broad overview of what to expect, what readers should expect, and how to format your writing so that the readers can expect and understand your emails a lot better. Remember, this is a general overview. We're going to have some more specific information in future lessons that are relevant to the specific cases. First one we want to go over is fonts. Of course, when you're writing, font choice is important. The color, the size, and which font you actually use. When you're doing this, you have to consider the audience and the purpose and the tone. For most fonts, most situations in business writing, you want to keep your fonts readable, professional, and standard. The number one thing is keep it readable. Very simple rule that if you can't read it, then it's not worth anything. Very clear, right? So we have these examples over here. Even I can't read it. It says hold on a second. Some fonts may look beautiful, but they aren't always easily readable. I can't even read it. It's too scripted. Maybe it looks pretty, but it's totally useless if you can't even read it. Forward. Another one. Some fonts, you may also look like you're yelling when you don't need to. This font is called Impact. Maybe it's okay for like a marketing purpose or for a different purpose if you want a certain feeling, but in regular communications, avoid that. And of course, maybe you don't know this, but Comic Sans, this is the font name, is the absolute worst. Most people in English-speaking countries, they kind of make fun of this font for like just being like a childish font that you use when you're kind of like a kid with a crayon writing Comic Sans. It just kind of seems a little childish, definitely unprofessional. So instead of all these other types of fonts, what you could do is pick some standard ones. Calibri, that's the standard one on Microsoft Word. Helvetica, that's the standard one on Apple. Arial, Times New Roman, Garamond, Lato. I think Lato is from Google, apparently. But, you know, these are all pretty standard. There's nothing too fancy about them. Easy to read and professional. That's the number one thing. But one tip that I want to give you is to pay attention when you switch from Korean to English. When you switch, and then you, for example, if you're writing in Arial font, right, and then you switch to Korean, you say whatever you need to do in Korean, and then you switch back to English, what happens a lot of times is the font, it won't go back to the original Arial. It'll go back to an English version of the Korean text, if that makes any sense. So it just looks different. It's probably pretty readable, but if you're writing a whole document that's maybe meant for a report or analysis, and then the font keeps changing, and it just keeps, it's not consistent, then it can kind of feel unprofessional. So remember, just be careful when you switch back from Korean to English. Try to be as consistent as possible with your fonts. Another thing to consider is the font size and colors. Again, we're going to go into this in future lessons, but basically, how is your audience going to read your document? 90%, they're going to read it from a computer, right? Standard font is size 12. Same thing, I think, with smartphones. 12 is pretty standard to read an email in size 12 font, but 10 is also readable, but it's kind of difficult a little bit. So just be careful of where your audience is reading your information. For example, if you're doing a PPT or a slideshow and you're doing a presentation, 12 is not going to be good. It's too small up on a big screen. Instead, you want to do a big 40 or 50 or 70, depending on your situation. So remember, consider your audience. Next one is going to be the color. Obviously, the standard color is black. I don't think I really have to say too much on this, right? But if you want to change your colors, you could do that to grab attention. A lot of times, marketers, they'll change the color of certain words to pop out red, right? Or wow in yellow. And that's totally fine. It's for that specific purpose. In most situations, though, in most professional situations, you just want to keep it simple. All right, now, proper formatting is making sure that your emails and your job posting and your resume is in the expected format. There are certain things that people expect from certain types of writing. Resumes, job posting, advertising, reports and analyses. All of these have a specific thing that that the reader is looking for. For example, we have this sales email example. We have 3 parts over here: self-introduction, all the way on top, purpose of email in the middle, and the additional information. This is the standard format that most sales emails, or maybe initial emails, have. At the top, you just say, hello, my name is, I am with this company. In the purpose, you say, I would like to know if you are, our company does this. And finally, the additional information, you could tell them where to get in contact, how to further this relationship. Basic format that most people look for in an email. So it's really important if in certain emails, maybe not a sales email, but if it's an email that they want to open up again and they could look at very clearly and find the information that they need because you have written it in the correct format, or at least the expected format. Another one would be a resume. Resume examples. Remember, hiring managers, they get hundreds of these, and we're going to get into more detail in a future lesson. But in resumes, it's going to have the same basic order of this: your name, your contact information, the profile, your profile, and your career highlights and achievements. And then after that, in the middle part is going to be the work experience, usually in chronological order and usually in bullet format. Each point is what you did or your achievements. At the bottom is where you put the education and the additional information. Maybe you could put the education on top. Maybe you could put the additional information on top. But if you do that, it's going to confuse the reader, and the whole point of business writing and this lesson is to make it easy for the reader to expect the information in certain places. Let's take a look at this last one over here, job postings. This is when you put a posting on the internet looking for somebody that can work at your company, of course. At the top, usually is a general introduction about what the company is, what you guys do, and the next part is the responsibilities that you're looking for. What kind of responsibilities that this position requires. If you have these responsibilities, please contact us. Next one, qualifications. Qualifications are about like the schooling, what kind of licenses you need, what kind of skills you need. These 2 things, responsibilities, qualifications, they're very clear, very direct, and it's in bullet format, which is actually very helpful for a reader. It's easy to see, easy to understand. If it was just in a big old paragraph, it might be a little difficult. Another general tip for writing for business purposes is break up long blocks of text. If you just have a big paragraph, it's just hard to read. It just is. Yes, people are lazy. People see a big thing over here and they're like, oh man, I gotta read that. So if it's too big, it's not very helpful. So break everything up and make it easier for the reader. Of course, if you break it up, it's good. Bullet points is even better. Use these kind of tools in Microsoft Word. There's that bar all the way on top. Use it, right? That's going to really help readers to find the information that you need. Another one, again, we're going to go into more detail with this in another lesson, but you want to remove unnecessary details. The reader must be able to read the text easily without straining. Whatever's unnecessary, just take it out and make it simple and clear as possible for the reader. Lastly, we want to add all the most important information first. Again, this is all about making it easier to find information, to communicate better through writing. And if the most important information is hidden down at the bottom of the paragraph, it's going to be a lot of work, and communicating with you is not going to be the best experience. So if we take a look at this example, we roast flavored coffee with unique and interesting flavors like butterscotch and peppermint. We've received multiple awards from Coffee Ratings, Best New Coffee. So I'm emailing you today to see if you'd be interested in discussing a potential partnership. There it is. This whole paragraph, we've got this award, we roast the best coffee, interesting flavors, blah, blah, blah. What do you want? It's right in the middle. Take everything out, move that to the front, make it its own sentence. If you make it its own sentence, it's a lot clearer so that the audience knows what to expect. And if they know what to expect, then it makes communicating with you much easier and much more efficient, and it's a pleasure doing business with you. If the most important information is at the end, it's not a pleasure doing business with you. So keep that in mind. Remember the basic rules are most important information first, break up big chunks of paragraphs, and make everything as simple and clear as possible. Hopefully you'll be a pleasure to do business with. Okay, bye-bye.